Hello, my amazing first grade artists. This week we are going to be diving into the art of Anrei Matisse. Now, we are also going to be creating some shape-inspired art from our artist. And today, my friends, we are going to be creating our own shape book before we get started on our art project next week, friends. So take a look at the artwork. We're going to meet our artist in a moment here, and I'll talk about his artwork. And then we're going to go ahead and grab our art materials and start a shape-inspired book today, my friends. Our artist this week is Mr. Anrei Matisse. Mr. Matisse was a French artist, and he had a fondness or love for bright and expressive colors. Kind of like Miss Greyhead, right? He enjoyed painting, sculpting, printmaking, and many other styles of art. But it wasn't until later in his life that he turned to cut paper collage. And that was because of cancer, my friends. He was diagnosed, had a surgery, and then was limited in his movement and had to stay in a wheelchair. So he would have assistants help him by painting his paper, and then he would cut out fun different shapes, and then his assistants would help him arrange them in fun different ways. And sometimes his work was small, sometimes it was bigger than a wall. Now, I'm going to show you a few different examples of Mr. Matisse's work. And while we are looking at these today, my friends, I want you to notice the different shapes that he used. Again, we are going to be talking about geometric and organic shapes. And as you notice here, there's not any shapes that we could name, like rectangles or circles. All of these shapes kind of look like they might be from nature. For example, I see things like coral and apples. Sometimes I even see some stars in his artwork. And whereas these things might look like those things that I just named, we're never for sure about what those things are. It's not like they have a name like circles and triangles do. So I'm going to go ahead and let you take a look at a few more pieces. And again, I just want you to notice some of the different shapes. Think about naming the geometric shapes that you can name, like the squares in this picture here. And think about the other shapes that you see and what those shapes might look like. All right, artists, I hope you enjoyed looking at some of Mr. Matisse's artwork with me. Time to now take out of our art folder this piece of paper, my friends. And right now on the front of this paper, you'll see that it says Anrei Matisse's Shapes. Now, before we can draw or write anything inside of our book, friends, we need to fold it. So I'm going to actually flip it over to the back side and fold my book in half, so that way that becomes the cover. Now, the first thing you'll notice on the front, it says by, and there's a long line. This is your shape book, my friends, so I would like you to write your name. And you can use pencil or any colors to write your name. I'm just going to use black today so you friends can see it a little bit easier. So, by Miss Greathead. Again, please put your name on that line, my friends. Later, when you have some time, you might even want to color up your book, but right now let's open it up to the inside. On the inside of your book, my friends, you'll find that there are some words. Now, before you do anything else, I want you to go ahead and draw a line right down the middle of your paper where that fold is. And again, I'm going to do most of my drawing today in marker just so you friends can see it easier. But you, please use your pencil first, okay? The reason we want to add that line is because on this side of our book, we are going to be drawing geometric shapes. Those are shapes that have names, and they're usually man or machine made. On the other page of our book, though, friends, we're going to be working on organic shapes. These kind of shapes, they look like something, and these are normally found in nature. We saw some of these shapes in Mr. Matisse's artwork. Now, during our live class, friends, I will have you name some of these geometric shapes for me. But today, I'm just going to go ahead and draw some of them and name them for you. That way, you can go ahead and add them onto your paper. Now don't draw too large because we have a lot of shapes that we need to fit. Again, geometric shapes have names. They're shapes like circles and ovals, even triangles and squares. Then of course when I think about squares, I also think about rectangles. I also think about rhombus, a trapezoid. Maybe I'll then move to things like hearts or stars, and stars can be kind of tricky, my friends. So if you draw your star differently than I do, that's okay. Just try your best star. Sometimes I even hear about crescent shapes, like a moon. Then there's the shapes with many sides, like we have a pentagon that has 5 sides, kind of like a house. A hexagon has 6 sides. I like to start at like the top of my rhombus. Nope, trapezoid. Nope, I can never remember. I always mix those two up, my friends. And then you could even go all the way to 8 sides if you'd like and try an octagon. The way I like to draw my octagon, I start with 4 sides that are open, and then I close those 4 sides with 4 more straight lines. Now I'm just thinking real quickly about any shapes that I might have missed. Oh yes, a semicircle. Now if you can think of even more shapes than that, my friends, you can even add a few more shapes to think about. But those are the shapes that I think when I hear geometric shapes. Again, geometric shapes have names, and they're normally either man or machine made. You don't normally find most of these shapes in nature. Now on the flip side, my friends, again, are organic shapes. And organic shapes look like something. Now in Mr. Matisse's artwork, we saw many different types of these organic shapes. I'm going to draw a few and talk about what they look like. But again, they might look like something different to you. So one example I saw kind of looked like a flower. And it had kind of petals coming out like this. That kind of also looks like a fidget spinner, just a little bit to me. Another type of shape that I saw was kind of like a raindrop shape, where it was kind of wider at the bottom and then narrow at the top. Maybe that also looks like a pear. Another one, speaking of food, I saw one that kind of looks like this. It had wavy lines, it was flat. Kind of reminded me of bacon, even though I don't eat bacon myself. So it looks similar to that. Other shapes, I saw something that kind of looked like a feather. It had kind of these arms on one side. It came down to almost a stem. Oh, and that reminds me, I also saw one that kind of looked like a leaf. Kind of like one of our first art projects that we did this year, my friends. There was a really cool star kind of looking one, but this star had many, many points on it. So it looks like a star, but it's not quite the same star that we're used to, right? I saw another one, kind of looked like an upside down heart, but it had a round top instead of a pointed. Interesting. I'm thinking back to some of those images, and again, if you need to pause here, friends, and go back and look at some of those pictures again, you could even find some more. I think I remember there was kind of this S-looking snake. What else? I'm really trying to think and push my brain out. Oh yes, there was a spiral one. Now, we're used to a spiral being kind of like a line, right? But if you take that line and then start working your way back out and then close your line, you can make a spiral shape as well. So that's another way to do it. So there are a few of different organic shapes that we saw in Mr. Matisse's artwork, my friends. So I'm going to stop there for a moment. Again, you can always pause the video here and you can take a closer look at some of those shapes, my friends. I'm even going to hold them up closer to the camera. That way you can see them a little bit easier. And if you need to, please pause the video. Now, artists, remember, if you drew them in pencil, please try to trace them up with something dark like a black marker, because your homework assignment today, my friends, is going to be taking a picture of the inside of your book to show me how many geometric and organic shapes you were able to draw. As an added little bonus, my friends, on the back of your book, there's also a challenge. It says create your own unique shape. So I want you to think about maybe a shape that you've never seen before. And if you have one of those, or maybe even more than one, my friends, that you would like to show, you can draw them on the back here and create your own shapes too, just like how Mr. Matisse made his organic shapes. Remember, organic comes from nature, looks like something. Geometric have names, and they're often man or machine made. All right, artists, I'm going to stop here for this week. We're going to use this book again next week when we start our real art project. So thank you for exploring those different shapes with me today, friends. I hope you learned something new about some of these interesting and different shapes that Mr. Matisse liked to use. I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye for now, and as always, have fun creating, my friends.